A lot of you probably feel like your dad made dating worse than the intrinsic nightmare that it already is, but y'all didn't grow up in Texas, okay? My dad is probably a couple inches taller than me, but is probably one of the most intimidating people on this planet, okay? He's an ex-Air Force Vietnam vet who was a mechanic. But he became a mechanic because he was much better with his hands than he was with his heart. My dad's allergic to feelings, okay? So my dad started running romantic interference for me when I was very young. I was probably 5 or 6 years old, and we were having dinner at the closeted gay music minister's house, and I was playing in the back room with his son, and we were playing something called kiss tag. And as you can imagine, kiss tag is tag, but with kissing. So when my dad found out, he burst into the back room, dragged me out by my ear into the hallway, and he said, "You ain't ever to play that game again." I said, "Why, Dad?" And he said, "Kissing is where babies come from." Okay? Like all good Texans, my dad didn't let me date till I was 16 years old. And I clearly remember the day that this rule was set. I was about 13. A really cute boy from school had asked me to go to the mall with him. Swoon. And I had to ask my dad for permission, but he was out changing the oil on the Suburban. So went to go find him, went outside, and I kind of had to ask his knees, because he was like under the car. So I asked him, and I don't get a response. There's just like a lot of grunting. And he finally shimmies out from underneath the car and grabs a pan of dirty oil and starts walking back to the house. And I totter after him like maybe he didn't hear me. And he makes it to the porch right by where this beautiful set of daffodils had just bloomed. And he locks eyes with me with his pan of oil, dumps it on the flowers and says, "Absolutely not. Not till you're 16. I was like, okay. I was crushed, thinking that this boy was going to go to Spencer's with another girl. So I didn't have my first real date until my junior year of high school. It was homecoming, and I was like, this is it. I'm going to have my first kiss tonight. We're going to get married the summer after graduation. We're going to start having Christian babies. It's the way that God wants it to be. And of course, it had apocalyptic rain the night before, and so our crappy yard was like a mud swamp. So my dad's solution to this was to put a bunch of 2x4s from the porch to the sidewalk, so this poor boy had to balance beam it to get to our house. And once inside, it was 4 walls of guns and dead crap. Okay, he sits this boy down, puts tube socks on his hands and says, "I don't want these coming off all night." Pulls the shotgun from the wall and asks the boy to look down the barrel to make sure it was clean. Needless to say, I didn't get my first kiss that night. I was home by 9:30 and I cried myself to sleep. I was like, this is it. I'll never get married. I'm never getting married. This was it. In the 20 years since that night, I've literally brought 2 humans home to meet my father. The first might as well have not even had a name because every time he was referred to only as Noodle Arms. This included all in-person interactions. Yeah. The second one hadn't even been in our house for 5 minutes when my dad hands him a grenade. And he had taken the powder out of the grenade, but of course the boy didn't know that. He pulls the pin and says, "Got a couple questions for ya." Yeah. So, things didn't really work out with those boys, okay? And I didn't blame my dad, obviously, but he wasn't helping. So I stopped bringing people home. And it just got to the point where I didn't want to talk to my dad about anyone I was dating or anything in my personal life. And my last breakup was awful. Awful. It was one of those breakups that made you lose sleep and wait and hope in mankind. And I called my mom, told her about it, and was just sobbing on the phone with her. And she said, "Do you want to talk to your dad?" And I said, "No way." And the next day, I get a call from the front office, and they say I have a package from 1-800-Flowers. So that's weird. And I get it, and it was from my dad. And he had Googled his way to my work address and had this adorable bouquet of multicolored tulips sent to my work. And the card just said, "Just thinking of you. Wanted to cheer you up. Miss ya. Want to kiss ya." And it was all in one run-on sentence. And I'm an English teacher. And it was the smallest, cheapest bouquet I had ever received. But as far as I know, my dad has not sent flowers to anyone. Not my mom, not my grandma, no one. And it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Thank you.